There is a smell you have never experienced, not once in your entire life. It's the smell of a human being, a real one, the way nature actually made us, before soap, before perfume, before we spent every morning scrubbing it away. And if you could smell it just once, it would tell you something extraordinary. For hundreds of thousands of years, the human body wasn't trying to hide. It was trying to speak. We picture our ancient ancestors as filthy, grunting, caked in dirt, reeking of decay. But that picture is wrong. And the real story of what early humans smelled like, and why, is one of the strangest things scientists have ever uncovered about our own bodies. Let's start with a simple question. Why do humans smell at all? The answer goes back millions of years, to the moment our ancestors did something almost no other large animal had done. They lost their fur. The anthropologist Nina Jablonski, who has spent her life studying human skin, describes how we became a nearly naked ape covered in millions of tiny sweat glands. We traded a coat of hair for the power to sweat, so we could run for hours under a blazing sun and chase prey to exhaustion. But that gift came with a price. A warm, damp, hairless body is a perfect home for bacteria, and those bacteria are what create human scent. So our smell isn't dirt, it's the signature of an animal built to move, to hunt, to survive. Now picture one of those early humans by a fire, hundreds of thousands of years ago. The smell clinging to their skin and hair would have been wood smoke, deep and constant, because fire was always near. Underneath it, sweat, and beneath that, the raw scent of earth, grass, and animal hide. That was the smell of being alive. And here's the part nobody expects. It wasn't just a smell, it was a message, because human body odor carries information. In one of the most famous experiments in this field, a scientist named Klaus Wedekind had women smell t-shirts that men had worn for several nights. The women didn't know whose shirt was whose. Yet, again and again, they were most drawn to the scent of men whose immune systems were the most different from their own. Their noses were reading hidden genetic information, steering them toward a partner who would give their children stronger protection against disease. That ancient program is still running inside you right now. You are, in part, choosing people by smell, and you don't even know it. So if scent was this important, did our ancestors just let themselves rot? Not at all. And the way they kept clean reveals something beautiful about who we are. The scientist Robin Dunbar has studied how our closest relatives, like apes and monkeys, spend hours grooming each other, picking through fur, removing dirt and insects, cleaning the skin. And it isn't really about cleanliness, it's about love. Grooming is how they say, I am here for you, you belong with me. Our early ancestors almost certainly did the same. Cleaning each other wasn't a chore, it was one of the very first ways humans showed they cared. They didn't stop there. At a cave in South Africa called Blombos, archaeologists led by Christopher Henshelwood found something astonishing. A kit for grinding red ochre into paint, around 100,000 years old. Humans were collecting pigment and putting it on their bodies and their skin tens of thousands of years before written history. We aren't certain exactly why. Decoration, ritual, protection from the sun. But one thing is clear, these were not mindless creatures rolling in filth. They were decorating themselves. They cared how they looked. And now for the strangest clue of all. For most of our existence, humans wore no clothes. So how do scientists know roughly when we finally got dressed? They asked the lice. There are two kinds of human lice. One lives in our hair, the other lives only in clothing. By studying the DNA of those clothing lice and tracing how long ago they split from the others, researchers estimated that humans began wearing clothes somewhere around 100,000 years ago. The tiny insects living on our ancestors recorded the moment we covered our skin. Think about that. The bugs in our clothes are a clock, ticking back to the day humanity first got dressed. Even their teeth break the myth. Ancient hunter-gatherers ate no sugar, no processed food, and many of them had remarkably few cavities. In some ways, their mouths were healthier than yours. The rotten, decaying smile we imagine belongs far more to the modern world than to the ancient one. So here is the truth that turns everything upside down. If you stood beside one of the first humans, you would not be standing beside a filthy beast. you would be standing beside a creature of smoke and sweat and earth whose very scent told a story, their health, their identity, who they were meant to love. And if they could smell you, washed and perfumed and stripped of every natural trace, they might recoil, because to them, you would be the strange one, a human with no smell at all, a human who, in a way, had erased part of what it means to be alive. We spend our whole lives trying to smell like nothing, but for almost the entire human story, your scent was your signature. It was the first language we ever spoke, written in the air around us, long before we had words. Which leaves one last question hanging in that ancient firelit dark. If these people lived so close to the earth, with no walls and no plumbing, then where, exactly, did they go to the bathroom?